Was there anything in the motu proprio that was what was the most shocking thing? I think for me, before you answer, was that any priest ordained after this day cannot say the traditional Latin Mass without permission from his bishop, who then has to then seek it again from Rome, the Apostolic See. To
From
me,
Rome.
that was the big. I actually heard a rumor that they were going to do that, but I immediately had dismissed it, saying that's way too harsh. They wouldn't do that. To me, that was the most shocking thing. What about you? Was it the parish thing, parochial churches?
That was in there. Both of those were in my certainly in my top five. I think my number one concern was the urgency, the immediacy, the
As of this
fatality of
day.
this thing right
Yeah, no
now.
90-day
And
window.
all I Oh my gosh, yeah, that just it doesn't happen like that ever. And that's I think why so many bishops right now are stunned and they're really forced to think about this. What's going on, you know? And so what right came to my mind is I hate to be right, and I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking a bunch of us who put our heads together, traditional Catholics and just conservative folks, about the Great Reset and about Davos and about the World Economic Forum, because I want to be wrong about that. That whole thing, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's absolutely what COVID is all about. This whole thing is all about what they have in mind for this Great Reset, and it's my conviction that when a rather significant number of traditional Catholic priests and laity showed that they were not going to be compliant with that. Now, I don't mean that they were defying and risking people's lives and refusing
Right.
masking and all that. I don't mean that. When they said, no, you're not going to declare our church non-essential. You're not going to declare the sacraments non-essential. So we took to the parking lots. And I think that was proof that Francis does not have a hold of this. He's got to hand
Mhm.
the entire church over to Gates and Soros and company. That the church has to be compliant. It has to be out of the way for this great reset and the new world order that they have, the new order that they have in mind. Over the past 15 months of COVID, traditional Catholic lay people, priests, bishops, all the way to Archbishop Vigano, that was almost an embarrassment to Francis. He realized he doesn't quite have the sway as Pope that he guaranteed that he would have to sort of shut the Catholic world down. And I think that's what the immediacy was all about. This great reset is going to happen one way or another, and they're shutting every pocket of resistance down. And whether we realize it or not, the traditional Catholic resistance, praise God, was pretty impressive. I mean, it was pretty impressive. We're among the few on the face of the earth that stayed open, that went to the parking lots and continued to practice our faith in a public way. When I saw the document, I said, oh my gosh, I think we're right about that. I think that really the traditionalism really is a threat. It's one of the threats. I'm not saying it's the only threat in the whole world, but it's a very serious threat, which of course is somewhat ominous, but it should also be very encouraging for us. We have a crusade, friends. The most important thing that we need to do, give to our children and our communities, is the sense of crusade, that we will fight and die for Christ the King, for what we believe, that we will fight and die for this Mass.
Speaking of crusade, I think in an interview that we did before, you had mentioned observing your father and the men in your family as fighters for the faith, fighters for the mass,
Yeah.
fighter for orthodoxy. And I think, if I remember correctly, you attributed that to you having faith as a grown man, as an adult Catholic man. Dads out there watching, your daughters and sons need to see you as a fighter, as a warrior for the Catholic faith and for the Mass.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at the prayers at the foot of the altar of the traditional Latin Mass, praying that God, why have you left us alone when we have to defend ourselves against this attack? I'm paraphrasing
Right?
the attack of our
Judica me.
enemies. There's a reason, exactly. There's a reason why when we receive the sacrament of confirmation, we become soldiers of Jesus Christ. That's just not a term that the church just threw out there for the fun of it. Literally, and it's not just a matter of fighting to become saints, fighting for our souls and our salvation. Of course, that's it. But we are also called, according to the promises of our confirmation, to never be afraid, to never deny our faith, and to rather die. In fact, and that's right there in the teaching, the catechetical teaching, to rather die defending that faith rather than ever deny it. That means something. And this is why we always tell the stories of the Vendée and of the Cristeros and of the Catholics of the Western Uprising, people who were willing to die for the faith. We have to be there. It can't just be all positive and happy and we just feel so joyful inside. No, there's got to be a militancy, and our sons especially have to see this. And this is like, I'm not anybody's preacher. I'm just a Catholic activist, a journalist. But I mean, you got to get down on your knees and you got to pray the rosary. We do it at our house in the dark with a candle lit, so the flickering flame flashes on the face of Our Lady and of St. Joseph and of Christ the King in a way, especially for young kids, comes alive. They see mom and dad on their knees. These are the attitude and the actions of crusaders, people who are getting ready to go to war no matter what. So I'm not trying to be overly pious or, God bothering everybody, but in every chance that you get to show your children you're ready to suffer and fight for this thing, you guarantee not only that your children are going to keep the faith, which is your first order of business anyway as parents, but they'll be around at the end of your life when you're old and you're facing nursing homes and all. You're going to have strong Catholic young people and grandchildren. You're going to have that support system that, of course, the nanny states wanted to eradicate that as well. But you'll have that. That's another benefit from becoming a true soldier of Jesus Christ and letting your sons and daughters see you proudly fight for it. Absolutely, absolutely essential, in my opinion.